Anyway, let's keep going. So here we see this king on d3. Do we have any checks? Well, as we see right now, we see that this king is kind of boxed in. It doesn't have anywhere to go, right? If we can just add one more attacker, it should be checkmate. And we have this move, knight to e5. We don't go here because it will be captured. So knight e5 is checkmate. Alright, so let's keep going. So here d6, another very classic pattern. It's the scholar's mate once again. Very often, if you can take this pawn in the opening with your queen and your bishop is protecting it, it's a checkmate. So here we have this move and we win the game. Once again, you guys, it's still pretty straightforward, but we're just training the patterns here. So b5. All right, so do we have any checks? Well, we do. We have to move queen g7. Another important pattern with the queen and the rook along the g file, and we deliver the king over here. It's a very common pattern if the king is castled. So let's go here, and we move on. All right, let's keep going. So here. So already now, I feel like they're becoming a little bit more difficult. So let's see. Let's first of all take note of the material count. So what is the material count? So we each have a queen, right? Now, we each also have one knight. And white has the two bishops and black has a bishop and a knight. And we each have two rooks. So the material is fairly even, because knights and bishops are generally the same. So do we have any checks? Well, we can take here, but black's going to recapture. Okay, that doesn't really work out. Okay, we also have a check over here. That's also something we should consider. Now, do we have any captures? Well, we see that our queen is under attack. We can take here, but that hangs our queen. If we take the 9 e4, he takes our queen over here. So then we have to switch our attention back to the check. Let's say we give a check here, right? And now we have to start thinking for our opponent's moves. That's very important in puzzles, but also when you are playing a game, where you have to try to find the best moves for your opponent as well. So let's see what black can do. Let's say black blocks with the bishop, for example. Right, then, well, actually, then we can take this knight over here. Because as soon as this pawn recaptures, then this bishop opens up on this diagonal, and we can capture this rook on f7 because our bishop will protect it. Alright, so then what happens if black goes rook e7, hitting the queen? Well, then we have to look for a follow-up. We can take this pawn on c6 with a check, and at least we win a pawn and we have a very strong attack, which looks pretty good, right? So then, can black play knight e7 to defend this pawn? Well, then once again we take this pawn over here, and if black takes, we take this rook on f7. So queen e6 looks like the winning move. This is actually one of the first puzzles where we don't have an immediate checkmate, but we do get a very good position. So I think queen e6 is the right move. Let's see whether it's correct. Queen e6, rook e7, rook, queen takes e6 looks like the only move, so let's play the move. Alright, and there we go. So this one was a little bit more difficult, but we solved it anyway. Alright, so let's keep going. So here we are down a lot of material. As we see, we have a bishop and only 2 pawns, and black is a rook and 4 pawns. So we have to try to create counterplay somehow. Now, we have a majority over here, so we can create a passer on this side of the board. So the first move that comes to mind is the move c6. Alright, let's say black takes. Now we have 2 moves that we have to consider. We can recapture or we can go b6. Let's look at both of them. So let's say we go b6. Then can black stop the pawn somehow? Well, black can go rook h1 to try to get the rook behind, right? And we also have to consider that if we recapture on c6. Alright, so let's say we go b6, the rook goes here, we have b7. But black goes here, we cannot defend this pawn, and we also don't have a way to block the rook. Right, so let's have a look at that other move. So c6, takes. First of all, is this king in time to stop the pawn? King f8, c7? No, it's not. So the king cannot stop the pawn. So the only piece of black that can stop the pawn is this rook over here. So let's say black goes rook to h1, well then we go c7. And if rook c1, we have to move bishop c3. We block the c file, and the next step we're going to go c8, get a queen, and win the game. So that's got to be the solution. So we go c6, black takes, we take. Now we push the pawn, and we promote. Alright, there we go. We keep going. Alright, we've seen this pattern before. So we see that the bishop and the queen are attacking this pawn. Once again, we have this scholar's checkmating pattern. Once again, if you can take this pawn on f7 at the beginning stage of the game, and your opponent cannot capture your queen, it's very often checkmate. So queen takes f7, and we keep going. We gain 21 points for that. That's quite a lot. Alright, now here we have another very important pattern. Let's have a look. And actually here we will have to calculate it a little bit deeper. So we see that this bishop on g5 is attacking our queen over here. So we would like to capture the bishop, however, this knight is protecting it. So we have to think like, okay, what do we want to do and what is the problem? Then we try to get rid of the problem. So can we somehow get rid of this knight on f3? Well, we can capture the knight on f3 with a check. Let's say white recaptures, then we take this bishop over here, which is now unprotected. The line doesn't end there just yet, because white has queen takes f7. And as we discussed before, if white can very often take this pawn, it's protected by this bishop in the opening, it's very often checkmate. However, here our queen is out, so we have this d8 square available, and black is up a piece, so it looks like black is winning there. So let's play knight takes f3, white recaptures, and we take here, and we have this move king d8, and we win the game. Thanks HVB for the 100 bits. My pleasure. Alright, so let's keep going. So here once again we have another pattern. So here we see that the king is castled, which is sort of, and here we have something similar as to where the king is uncastled. Here, if we can take this pawn on h2 with our queen, and if the queen is protected, it's very often checkmate, which is the case here. We can take this pawn, our knight is protecting our queen, this king is blocked in, it cannot move to here because the rook is covering that square, so we win the game. Alright, so we move up to a rating of 600. So that is the second part of the puzzles speedrun.